This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
I am here with another great interview. I cannot wait to speak with this man. I'm going to give you a brief introduction. Sometimes we have our guests leave a bio about themselves. And in this particular case, we didn't do that. We're going to leave that up to this man to speak a little bit about who he is. But I know Robert Field from work as a homeopath, and who I really know this man to be, and I'm not sure that he knows that I think this about him, is the only homeopath that I've really absolutely count on to be doing that work as purely as it needs to be done. The man who represents for me pure homeopathy in the face of some argument at times, or a lack of agreement anyways, a man who really is up to making a difference and has no doubt lived a full life up until now. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to have him with me this afternoon. Robert Field, thanks for joining us on the Welcome to Humanity podcast.
Wow, Fred, that's quite an introduction. Thank you very much.
It's really a deep pleasure to have you here, and it really is. And I speak those words from my heart. It's simply who I see you as. I know a number of homeopaths, but none of them are you. And as you know, even from our call this week, leaning on you and expecting your authenticity and your candidness and your function as being someone who's up to something in the world and representing humanity at the highest level just has me grateful for not only having studied a bit with you, but for even knowing you or being with you on this ride during this journey. So again, thank you so much for being exactly who you are.
Wow. Well, that's it's an honor to be me.
Exactly. Good. Good. That's exactly how I want it. Yeah, we're at 2 minutes and 19 seconds in, and we got you to there. So that's good. We did good.
Yeah.
I am really excited about today's conversation with Robert Field, but I wanted to just take a minute and let you know about the progress about my new book, The Creative 8. So guess what? It's on Amazon.com, and it's in both the print form and the ebook format. So you can find it by going to Amazon and hitting Creative 8, that's the number 8, Welcome to Humanity. And it should pop up right then. It's got beautiful pictures, and it's super short, and it's really fun to read, and it's really effective. So it turned out great. I want you to enjoy it for free because you're a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast. And the best way to do that is to go to welcometohumanity.net/creative. Again, welcometohumanity.net/creative. So now let's get back to Robert Field. Watch this. What a cool man this man is.
Welcome to humanity. Well, actually, it's not often that I hear words like this, and I don't really carry an idea about myself like this, but it is kind of how I know myself. So, I guess I don't know if that's humility or just simply a focus, because my focus is primarily not so much on myself. I mean, I know that in this world, we all have very much self-interest, me included, but I would say that what I do in this world and why I do it is always hoping for a higher calling of some sort. So that's really nice that you shared that with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now I'm getting a little speechless, right?
Yeah, that's great. And I think when my listeners hear a little bit about what you're up to, they're going to see that really it is the absence of yourself that has you be such an exquisite clinician, perhaps, or your willingness to move yourself out of the way so you can see what's really going on. Because in reality, it's a little bit, I think, and I speak as such a novice here, a little bit of the essence of homeopathy is one's capacity to actually do that. And so maybe we're really talking right up the barrel of what it means to be an effective present homeopath over the last few hundred years. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Samuel Hahnemann, who developed this incredible art and science 240 years ago. My gosh, the guy was so very, very far ahead of his time. And, he left us with his legacy, which is called the Organon of Medicine. And, the primary calling is to be an unprejudiced observer.
Exactly.
And, it's the whole basis for what homeopathy, as it's practiced as a medical art and science, is that, the homeopath is really the tool. We have lots of tools in terms of repertories, materia medicas, those things that, are a gathering and a collection of all the information over the last 240 years, making this such an incredibly vast, deep, and effective form of medicine. But bottom line is, as a homeopath, you are the tool. You are the person who is charged with the ability to discern what goes on for another person and what that looks like in terms of what's really needing to be healed in that person. And if we come with our prejudice, we might as well be giving ourselves a remedy. We might as well be, prescribing for ourselves, because to sit before another requires a certain amount of empathy. And I think often in the world today, we have many people with deep levels of compassion. And if you move to sympathy, well, then you're in it with them, and might as well be again taking your own case. But to sit absolutely clear and be able to perceive what goes on for another person through their testimony, the words they choose, the actions that they're performing, it becomes an art, because we have to get out of our own way. I consider the role as actively while I'm being a homeopath is somewhat similar to meditation, because the focus is so much, and yet at the same time, I'm still using my mind. I'm still using my left brain and my right brain. My left brain, I'm synthesizing things. I'm trying to bring it all together. My right brain, I'm trying to analyze it in such a way that I convert it to the language of our repertory. So in that, it requires me to be completely out of my own way. I mean, literally have no agenda other than just simply be present and understand at the deepest level what goes on for a person. And then from that place, then maybe I can really help them. But if we're not coming from that place, then the homeopath isn't really perceiving as deeply as this particular form of medicine could really offer help.
Thank you. That we could stop right there, Robert. Seriously, that could be the essence of really. First of all, it makes my point about who you are for the world, to having got that out so articulately and so passionately, so honestly, and also pass on to my listeners and I the essence of who you really are as an unprejudiced observer, who you truly are, about getting yourself out of the way and then getting that self that's still left out of the way, because that self that's still left out of the way, really the sympathetic rather than maybe the empathic, the one who is giving his own self the remedy, needs to be out of the way if you're going to do anything close to the purity that Dr. Hahnemann gave to us 240 years ago. Is that properly stated?
Yeah, I think so. In life, everyone wants to do their best. Everyone wants to, show up and shine and have that. But honestly, those are all elements of ego. And it's not that we're devoid of ego, but that the brain is really much more like a computer. And if we can use it like a computer, or use it to allow us to be able to perceive things that are out of our own way, where we're not projecting into any aspect of it, then in many ways, like I referred to it as meditation, it's much like that. It's much like a very silent place inside of a person's mind, inside of my mind, that I'm just allowing, and I'm trusting that everything that needs to be revealed will be revealed. There's a model that I teach my students. It's one of what I call the Trinity, and really it's just a triangle. And sitting at the top of the triangle is God, for lack of a better word, universal consciousness. I don't care what we call it. We're going to call it, but a higher power and a higher order that brings order to all things. And then on the other side is a person in need, a person suffering. And at the other bottom corner of this triangle is the homeopath. So the model that I carry in my mind, and I set this intention for every case that I work with, every time that I show up in that role of homeopath, this person's suffering, and they raised their hand and said, hey, I'm looking for a homeopath. And I raised my hand a long time ago and said, okay, talk to me. I'm going to be the homeopath, right? But there's a greater order to all things, greater than myself and greater than the person who is asking for help. And so that connection at the base of the pyramid is made between the person, asking for help and me offering help. But I also recognize at the very same time that the same creator, the same Godhead, the same universal consciousness that is creating everything for that person's experience and projecting to me is also the very same source that's coming through me and showing up in the capacity of the homeopath and offering to them. And so it forms a trinity. And in that trinity, it's a very strong a strong symbol. It's a strong acknowledgement to get out of my own way, because I'm just showing up in that role. Now, I've got knowledge in my head. I need to keep studying, all of the nuts and bolts and all of that. That's always in place and always being built upon. But the role of me as, Robert, an individual, is kind of like stepped out. I allow the brain to continue to do what it needs to do, but I myself have kind of like, it's not about me.
Right.
My job is to understand what's happening for this person. And I trust implicitly that very same energy that's animating that person into their need and meeting me and me into my need to meet them is perfect. And it happens perfectly each and every time. So in that amount of trust allows me to be able to show up. And I've been doing it for, close to 30 years now. And I found it to be proven every single time that when we allow, it happens. Simple as that.
It is simple like that. And again, I don't have that much more to ask of you. It's like,
there's more to say.
There's more to say. So I just got to come up with some questions and give it back to you. But that's just extraordinary, Robert. Well, how do you see yourself? One of the, when you say, when someone asks you, what do you do for a living? What do you say? You say, I'm a homeopath, or who are you, Robert Field?
Well, yes, I do homeopathy, but who am I? I'm an extension of God as a spiritual being, having a physical experience, allowing the divine to experience itself through me.
Beautiful.
And that's how we all are, in my view. But that's how I see me. This life we're living is such a blessing. It is such a gift to have senses, to be sentient, and to enjoy, and that's our birthright, in my opinion, the love that has brought all things into existence. And so therefore, that very same love that's brought all things into existence has brought me into existence. And yet, I am at the end point of that ever-present moment of creation as a, quote, co-creator of God, but I'm not so sure I'm even the co-creator. I think I'm just the experiencer of God trying to experience itself through me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some, really lovely spiritual experiences that have proven that to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I would say that, I don't know this through philosophy or through a religious ideation or anything like that. What's happened is I've been blessed to have had some experiences that, that's the takeaway from the experience. So
yeah.
and it's happening for all of us, except, some of us haven't been blessed to have that experience just yet.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So in this experiential learning, or in this ontological learning, in this existence of, extension of God, and then as a practicing one who practices homeopathy and a healer of some nature, there's a couple of things that I wonder about. For sure, my listeners are going to now be interested in at least one of these experiences that you're talking about, if you can speak to it. So there's at least that space. And if there's something about, sort of on the heels of that, there's something about what then leads you to confidently know that, you're going to create a school, you're going to teach others, your effectiveness is extraordinary as sort of a non-being, and it's time that this is your calling to make others like myself appreciate and be homeopathy. Like, there's something that trips a trigger more than 30 years ago. There's something that trips a trigger. And I'm wondering if there are some combination of letting us know of an experience or two, and how it is that Robert Field gets that he's indeed one to lead many of us through the wonders and beauty of homeopathy.
Boy, okay. Well, I guess I guess maybe how I discovered homeopathy might be important in the story. My wife at the time had been suffering horribly, medical doctors, all of this, and nothing was working. And, with the divine grace, I went to a phone book. We had traveled around the world. We were doing a world travel to kind of go off and heal. That was the intention of the travel. 2 children, my wife and myself, to heal. And 2 days into our journey, we were in New Zealand, and we needed help. It was just obvious. So I went to a phone book, and I picked up the phone book and opened it up. And literally, the page I opened to was like neon, just jumped off the page. Homeopathic Society. Literally, I opened it up, and that's what showed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, that has something to do with healing, I think. So I called. And they said, yeah, you should probably talk to this homeopath over here. And so we went to the homeopath and gave my wife these tiny little pills, and said, go off and take this. And, we should talk in a couple weeks, So we take the little pills. But in the time that next 2 weeks unfolded, I saw everything about my wife's suffering return and show a shadow of it, and then kind of fade out. And then return and show a shadow of it and fade out. And I was just amazed, literally. It was like, wow, that is some powerful medicine. She's given an opportunity to heal all of these things. And I'm seeing it happen in real time right now.
Yeah.
And so when we came back to the homeopath, I said, what was that you gave her? My God, this is the most incredible medicine I've ever seen. And she says, I gave her, salt, And I said, salt? She gets salt every day in her diet. What's that about? She goes, well, I gave her the energy of salt. I said, well, energy of salt? What's, energy of salt? I don't get that. That didn't make sense to me. And so I said, tell me. She goes, no, I'm not going to. I went, come on, you are the homeopath. This is your job, right? Aren't you supposed to like disseminate information? I'm just asking a simple question, you know? And she says, if I tell you, I'm going to ruin it for you. Come on, you can't just ruin it for me. I'm looking for information. She says, no, if I tell you, I'll ruin it for you. Someday you're going to be a great homeopath. And I just went, what? Now I was
wow.
I was really perplexed then. So I went to the library. I got every book I could find, checked out on homeopathy, went and bought every book I could find on homeopathy. And I literally had a stack of about 20 books, and I read them all in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, that's what I did. And now that none of it made sense, none of it answered the question. None of it answered the question. And so I was contemplating. I remember the moment. I remember the setting, the day. It was like the sun was coming through the window. I was laying on the floor and the carpet and was soaking up the sun. And there was this couch that was sitting there, the most beautiful burgundy red couch you've ever laid eyes on, velvet. It was just glowing. I mean, it was really incredible. And I'm thinking, it's like, what in the world is this about? Come on. What is it? You know? And then the light bulb went off. And in an instant, I understood homeopathy. And what I understood in that instant is this is not physical medicine.
Right.
This is spiritual medicine.
Right.
This is not interacting with the physical body. Prior to that, I thought, homeopathy it's like medicine, so you're taking a something, right? We're not taking a something, we're taking the energy of. And so in that moment, I said, oh my gosh, this is the most powerful medicine on the planet, because it has the ability to inspire without doing any harm, without even touching the person in the physical sense, to inspire them to heal themselves, to unleash that vital force energy that's been focused on the discord lying within the spiritual energy of the person and expressing as suffering into a healing response where that suffering comes into the present moment in time, but then finally starts to leave. Because we're not time travelers, we can't go back and heal things from our past, but we can surely bring up a vibrational energy of that suffering, and we experience it in real time. And then the vital force can return to its optimal state, or its more original state, more of its God-inspired state. And that's a greater state of health. And that's what healing really is the restoration of that health. And so when I realized that in that moment, I became a homeopath. I mean, literally, my life changed on a dime. And from that moment on, my life has been 100% homeopathy.
That's just beautiful. Wow.
So, but it happened through that pure knowingness when the light bulb goes off, because I was searching. I need an explanation. I know there's something. I've seen it now. I've seen it happen for my wife. So now there is an explanation. I need to understand what that explanation is.
Wow.
And so as a result of that, it really dovetailed in with all of my spiritual studies, metaphysical studies, things that I was naturally drawn to in my life. And then, oh boy, here's a way to really help people. Oh my gosh, what a gift.
Wow.
What a gift.
What a gift.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yes, that's enough of a story in its own right. But I do wonder about, that's probably one of a number of experiential stories. But that's more, I have that one as being the one that has your wife's healing, and then your sort of receiving that you are homeopathy.
Right.
What are some of the experiences you have maybe with, do you call them patients in homeopathy, or is there another name?
I hate the word patient.
Me too.
Because patient indicates we're going to practice on you.
Yes.
And you need to be patient with us.
Yes.
Because nobody in their suffering wants to be patient. So I prefer them as clients, because the way I see it, we're entering into an informal contract of, I'm here to help you. I do not consider myself a healer. I consider myself a homeopath. But homeopaths don't heal. The vital force of that person is who's doing the healing.
So the words are critical. The difference between the word choices is essential.
Absolutely
Yes.
Essential.
So in your experience with clients as a homeopath, would you like to share one of your highlight sort of sounds like a cosmic or at least super confirming experiential confirmations of the power?
I'm laughing, and the reason I'm laughing is because
every day. I know.
I was in the middle of a big conference, and they asked me to speak, and I'm speaking, and then, well, give us an example, and I went blank, and I said, every day of my job, what I'm doing is this. It's like it's the most incredible thing, and honestly, I went blank. I couldn't think of one case that I wanted to showcase, because bottom line is, it's not about me.
Right.
It's about the client. They are the ones that are doing the healing.
Right.
And so I get to experience vicariously through, them telling me how their life is just magically changing. And boy, those days when I hear those kinds of stories, I'm telling you, they are my best days. I get to experience a little bit of the joy that they are experiencing. And yeah, those are my best days in practice, not because I was the accomplisher. It was because I get to experience that wonderful healing energy that they're experiencing with them. They're sharing it with me. Yes. Oh my God, what a joy, what an honor. Literally, what an honor. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of stories. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people that I've worked with, and honestly, really none come to mind. It's because it's not where I focus.
I so get that. I really do.
Here's another interesting thing, and I train homeopaths.
Yes.
So I want them to be able to get out of their own way. I want them to be so confident and so trusting in themselves, in God, in everything that they're doing, that every decision they make with such knowingness and such firmness in their being that they won't question anything. That's what I'm training my students to become.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the end of the day comes and they've had, 10 people that they've worked with that day, there's never, ever, ever a question mark in their mind whether they've done the right thing or not.
Interesting.
So I live by this, and I won't make a decision until I make the right decision. And when that decision happens, oh boy, it's very clear, it's clean, it's right vibrationally inside of me, all the ways that I know in me that this is the very best option for them, even if it doesn't prove to be correct. We can give a homeopathic remedy, and it needs to be given with that amount of knowingness. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, I go to bed at night and I sleep. And when I leave my client, I leave them with the blessing that they're going to go off and do their life. They're not in my control. I'm not healing them from a distance afar. I mean, they're going off, they do their life. And they do their life, and I go back to my life and doing what I do in my life. And so the part of the responsibility that comes with being a homeopath, it needs to come with that level of knowingness so that we aren't ever questioning what's going on. We just come to a state of knowingness. So therefore, when I go to bed at night, I sleep like a baby. It's like my clients, they sometimes pop into my head, but they don't pop into my head with anxiety going, God, did I do the right thing?
Interesting.
Oh gosh, I mean, really, I would make my life horrible if I ever didn't come from that place. I'd be wondering what the heck I'm doing. Am I just simply a fraud, right?
So, I think it speaks to the testament of you getting out of your own way, because you have to be in your own way to have to ask yourself that question.
Exactly. I completely concur. Mm-hmm. So, I think I've got the best job in the world, like literally, that no one could ever have a better job than me when people come and they sit before me and they literally bare their soul. They bare their soul. They tell me things that they've never told another human being ever. And that level of trust that happens, oh my God, I honor them so much in that. And then I get to do good work, right? I mean, I showed up, this is what I'm doing. And then to see the results happen because they're doing the healing, it's their life that's healing. I have my own healing to have to, deal with and do, but their life is healing. And when they come back and share that with me, oh my God, it brings me so much joy for them, not for the fact that, hey, I'm a great homeopath, look what I just did. But no, I get the hit of their healing. It's like, oh wow, this is the best thing, this is the coolest thing in the world, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. That's just
so
great.
Let that be the testimony of what, because honestly,
did it.
It happens every day.
You did it. A super score on that inquiry. Thank you. I have some. Let's take a dip that I think probably some of our listeners, and specifically some of our listeners who have preconceived notions about homeopathy or perhaps never have seen or heard of what this stuff is, homeopathy, or, what is it compared to? What is it sort of like? And, and what is it nothing like? And, there's a thing, I guess the opposite of homeopathy is allopathy, right? Is that
allopathy? Yeah.
Allopathy.
Right.
And did Hahnemann actually coin the term allopathy? Am I correct?
No, he coined the term homeopathy.
Right. Okay.
So here, I'll give the elevator speech here.
Yeah, please.
Homeopathy, homeo means similar, and pathy means suffering, similar suffering. So what Hahnemann recognized as he was delving into this is that he ended up taking some of the medicine that was helping people, but it made him sick. And he goes, oh, shoot, what's going on with me? I'm sick just like they're sick. Oh, maybe that's why it's helping. So he'd find that as he give them a medicine that would help, it would also aggravate them and make them sick. And he thought, how is it I can possibly give them this, but not have it, create more for them before they can finally get over it? Because they all go on to heal, right? And so he played around with dilutions. And then he started playing around with cereal dilutions and then shaking it up. He thought somehow if we shake it up, maybe that'll release something, which in fact it does. It releases the spiritual energy that holds those molecules together, that carries the imprint of what God intended for everything to be involved in what that substance is about. I mean, every single thing is locked up in that collection and organization of matter. So, he got it. He went all the way to the pure physics of it and beyond, because he said, oh my gosh, well, then what is the force if we're breaking apart these molecules? What is the force that's holding it? And in the Organon, he didn't talk about it in terms of modern day physics. He talked about it in terms of a spiritual vital force. And so he was at that time recognizing that there's a vital energy inside of us, because that's what's responding when he's giving these homeopathic remedies that has absolutely no substance in it whatsoever. It's beyond Avogadro's number of dilution. He knew that. And he says, so if I'm giving it, how is it possible that it even works still, based on there's nothing there? And found that the more he did his cereal dilutions, the better it actually could be in some cases. Mm-hmm. And so then he realized, wow, it's almost like we're extracting the all of the information that ever came into the present being of whatever that substance was or is, and you're extracting it back to the pure idea, intention that God held for every single aspect of it. It's like when we make a homeopathic remedy, we end up revealing and opening up everything about it. But the only thing we could ever possibly understand about it is it gets revealed through another living source. Because, we don't have a machine that says, oh, look at all these different things that are going on and all these different ideas and all these different ways that it could express, that suffering could express caused by this particular substance. We don't have a machine for that, but we have an interactive vital force in the form of a human being who can report, wow, this is going on for me and that's going on and it feels like this and I'm feeling better and oh, it hurts right here. And all the sensations, all of that matters in homeopathy. So Hahnemann recognized that and so it's in every sense of the word spiritual medicine. Because what's locked up in the vital force in presenting, and I tell you, there are no accidents, and The human body, i.e., our mind, our emotions, our physical body, every concept that we could understand is all expressing perfectly. It's also expressing perfectly, even when it's expressing in its dis-ease form, when things aren't easy for us. So,
Diseased. Yes.
dis-ease. There's a reason why somebody gets cancer. There's a reason why you bumped your toe and broke your big toe slamming it into the, piece of furniture. There's a reason why you were the one that had the automobile accident going down the street and that car just plowed right into you. There's a reason why you have the common cold or COVID or any other expression of suffering, because this body, this life that we have is an opportunity for spiritual evolution. We come here so that we are given the very resistance within us to be able to surmount it. So the idea of susceptibility, Hahnemann really got that one. He says, we're closing susceptibility. Susceptibility is like the open door for the unwanted guest, right? Hey, we're having a party. Wonderful. All your friends are there. It's filled with love. Everybody's laughing. It's joyful. And then knock at the door. What's going on over there? And open the door and whoa, this guy dressed in black who wants nothing more than to upset the party sticks his foot in the door. Hey, wait a minute! You're not the wanted guest here. Sorry, you can't come in. No, foot's already through the door. Boom! Slams open the door, comes in, and creates havoc in the party. Right? So we end up suffering. We end up losing our happy place. So the idea of dis-ease is something much more like an energy that's not the truth of who we are, but through our susceptibility, we animate it. We bring it to life. We bring that to the present place, and we do it through this physical existence that we're locked in this time-space continuum we call life on Earth. So, when we heal, that unwanted guest is creating havoc in our lives. It's creating, it doesn't feel good. I wake up every morning, I got a pain in my side. I don't know what's going on. There's something happening. I'm not well, right? There's a reason for that, why I'm not well. And my job is to figure out in that person's life why not well is existing, as well as what it feels like, and to find that perfect homeopathic remedy for them. Because I want to offer them a spirit essence energy that could create that same type of suffering, and they take it in the form of the little pill that's been medicated. But that's through that open door of susceptibility, like where that unwanted guest came. Now I'm giving the vital force a reminder, hey, look, don't forget, you opened the door and there it was, right? And it came in, now it's here. And it adds to the expression of the dis-ease vibrationally, but it's not the truth of who the person is. So it becomes more like an inspiration because it doesn't do anything. It isn't like you take a homeopathic remedy and have a physiological effect, i.e., like you would a drug. There's no chemical doing anything, but the vital force that's creating the symptom can now alter the expression of the symptom, and that is what healing is. So as we give the homeopathic remedy, it's like closing the door again, and I'm getting better, and that disease is improving, and more and more and more. All the reasons behind why that ever had to come and show are also healing, and then pretty soon when we return to our original healed state, the state where we're the more truthful expression of the divine person we really are, that door will close. And when that door finally closes, the disease can't come in anymore, and we are in a healed state. Having gone through that experience, we're beginning to evolve or doing more of our spiritual evolution. That's why we come to this planet. That's why we have disease. The whole thing is an opportunity to spiritually evolve.
Now, thank you. And I was able to follow. I followed every ounce of what you're saying. I also put myself in the shoes of my listeners. And one of the things that I heard you say on at least 4 or 6 occasions during this cascade is you use the really large term of spiritual or spirituality. And I think I know the answer to some of these questions, but I'm going to lead these to you to answer them inside of the extended elevator speech you were talking about, which is something like, well, what if I don't, first of all, there's two questions. Number one, I'm not a spiritual person. Let's say I don't know anything about a spirituality. I'm just a normal dude who doesn't have a clue about spirituality. Is homeopathy going to still work for me? I think I know where you're going to go with that, but I really want to know. And then
Yes.
the next thing I want to know is let's go to that one first.
Okay. Well, it's a matter of perspective. A belief system is not predicated to homeopathy being a successful form of medicine. So, as a trained homeopath, as a spiritual being in touch with my own spirituality, it doesn't require another person to even have a belief system. In fact, so many times I'll treat a woman and she just does so fantastic. And she says to her husband, "You have to go talk to Robert." He goes, "I don't even believe in that crap you're doing. I don't even do it." And so he she convinces him. He walks through the door. First thing he says to me, it happens all the time: "I don't want to be here. I don't believe in this crap. And my wife may become, here I am." I said, "Cool. No problem. I'm with you, man. I'm totally with you." I said, "But you're here, so let's talk." That's it. That opens the conversation, and we talk. And out of the talking, the job is I need to understand how he suffers, right? So I'll ask about that, and I'll get clues just in the course of talking. "Well, what do you do, man? Like, what's happening with your life?" Well, and once that just even the door of trust starts to happen, then something more gets revealed. And something's always being revealed because the vital force is in a constant state of expression. Even when he walked through the door saying he didn't want to be here, I'm still witnessing his vital force in its fullest expression. So it isn't predicated on anything he has to be or do differently than who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is to simply understand that. Mm-hmm. And accept it and embrace it, because who am I to judge anyone about who they are, what they believe, or how they do what they do? So in the end, with clients like that, I don't have to go to the deeper spiritual explanation. All I need to do is to say, here's this homeopathic remedy. All you got to do is just take it. You paid for this, you put good money to it. So just do this. And if we can schedule a follow-up and talk in 8 weeks or something like that, let's see what happens. I mean, you've got nothing to lose, right? Not a drug, not going to hurt you, nothing going to happen. Let's just find out. So most often it goes like this. They leave, they take their remedy because their wife tells you take your remedy today? Yeah, I took my remedy. Yeah, okay. Get off my back, okay, it's time for your thing. I call them up. Are you going to come to yeah, I'll come down. We'll come and talk, So he comes back to the door, sits down. I said, "Well, you've been taking the remedy. What did you notice?" "Nothing." I said, "Wow, cool." I said, "So go back through my notes, and you talked about this. How's that?" "Well, now that you mention it, that hasn't been happening." "Oh, okay." "And then when we talked about this, and this, how is that?" "Oh, man, I don't even remember, we did talk about that, right?" "Yeah." Because it's not happening. "Okay. And how's that pain in your hip?" "Wow, the pain in my hip's a little better. I still have it, but it's a little better." "Okay, well, a little better on the pain in the hip." Well, I'll go through the list, and when I see that all these things that I based his prescription upon, that he shared with me, it's not some psychic thing I'm doing here, and then I reflect back to him. He goes, something, I didn't recognize it, but I think this remedy is really helping me. And then they're hooked. They're hooked.
Yeah.
Not that I hooked them. It's they got it. It's like, man, this is helping, but it's so subtle. And the reason it's so subtle is because it feels normal to feel how you feel.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning. Some days I'm like bouncing out of bed. Other days I don't want to get out of bed. Some days I'm grumpy. Some days I'm like elated. It's like it feels normal. But when I have too many days that there's too many sufferings and things are going on in my life, and then I'm taking a good homeopathic remedy and I'm not necessarily recognizing the shift, but day to day, I'm seeing that things are getting better, which is the real importance of doing a follow-up, is to take that snapshot again. Let's look back. Let's just see what's happening, and recognize that, wow, I'm not like I was before. Things have really shifted. And then, we can evaluate it. It's hard to recognize it during the experience unless the experience is so profound. And what I tell people is, healing is a process. It's not really an event. We do have events. I mean, I've taken homeopathic remedies with the most incredible sensation. The instant it touched my mouth, everything melted away. It was as if it just disappeared. So we can have experiences like that, but they're far and few between. And that's not really the point even of what we're trying to achieve with homeopathy, because it's a bigger picture than just to relieve one particular symptom. But it's powerful medicine, powerful, because we are powerful creators. I mean, we have the power of God that's coming through us all the time, simply wanting to experience itself. That's it. We don't recognize it.
Yeah. We don't
recognize it.
We don't. And we could, we're going to be winding down here in a minute, but, you mentioned briefly COVID, and there's something to be said. Like, one of the things that I'm sure is you don't sound very much like an allopath when you speak.
Thank God I never had allopathic training. Huh? There's only one true place that healing ever comes from. One place. And that's through our own vital force.
Isn't that
through
right?
That very thing that animates us as a living being. We pull the plug on that, it seemingly goes away. Sometimes we don't know where it goes. Some beliefs say, we go to heaven, or we go here, we go there. But bottom line is, the life force is now leaving that body. There's still a body there. Well, then let's just throw a bunch of chemicals at it. Let's say, why can't we just work at the physical level? Because we're primary spiritual beings. We're primary energetic beings. And that's where everything is animated from. So the principles of allopathic medicine are, we need to change something. Well, it's a little bit after the fact. And if the vital force could create that symptom, it's only going to be the vital force that could ever heal that symptom.
Yeah.
So all healing is individual to each and every one of us. It's unique. So we have a pandemic thing going on like COVID. Well, the job of the homeopath is to still understand what's going on for that particular person, because we could have 10 COVID patients. All of them could be suffering in a similar way, but maybe not exactly the same. And some of them would probably get different homeopathic remedies. We're that unique and that discerning in understanding what's going on for the person to be able to prescribe accurately.
Yes.
So
awesome.
It's such individualized medicine.
It really is. It's really beautiful. And so a couple things. Number one, I can't wait to begin working with you, which is starting again now kind of thing. And so I really, I have declared myself as a homeopath in your presence before. And each time I get to speak with you, I really get, this is really who I aspire to be in this lifetime. And so there's something that resonates, and we'll get to that in a second, something that resonates with me, with you, that is so extraordinary and just has me exhale into a willingness to get myself out of the way and be there as someone who's present for the vital force for another. It's just fantastic.
It's the greatest honor and the highest calling I could ever imagine, at least for myself, to honor another in that way, and to be honored in the sense in return that they could trust so deeply to share their deepest, darkest secrets, and to trust so intimately to be able to say, this is truly how I suffer. To witness that it's an honor. I mean, it's an honor to be present for someone in their suffering. I don't have to join them in it. It's not in sympathy. It's in true empathy. And it's in that empathy that, if we're out of our own way, it's not about me, it's about them. And boy, to be able to show up for another in that capacity, it's like, I think that's the gift of who we are as human beings.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we're talking again about more of a spiritual concept than okay, I'm going to be a firefighter. I look at firefighters as, they're great guys. They go out there, they train hard, and they go into burning buildings, and they grab children, and they save their lives. I look at that like they're not really a hero in my mind. They're doing their job. They were paid to do that. and they signed up to do that. Yes, they risked their life, but they're, it's their job. That's what they signed up to do.
Yes.
And so the heroes in my life are the people who are facing their demons on a daily basis and never, ever giving up the I don't want to say fight, the desire to overcome them. And when I work with people for a long period of time, I have clients that I've been working with for 15, 20 years, and they are still being present in their life. And if you ask them, they'd say, oh my God, I'm not the same person when I started with Robert. I'm a completely different person. And then, but I'm not only a different person than when I started, but I'm a different person than I was even 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they are still showing up on their own behalf. They have not abandoned themselves in their suffering to try to overcome it and become more of who they're meant to be. Those people are my heroes.
I got it.
Those people are my heroes.
I got it. Well, Robert, there's going to be some listeners here who are really curious about following you and really curious about learning a little bit more about you, or a little curious about maybe reading stuff that you write or a newsletter or like what, anything about your school. So if you can give us a couple minutes of how would a listener reach out if they were interested in learning either more about you or more about homeopathy specifically or generally or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I've been teaching this school for 20 years. We're in our 20th year now. And we teach using only live cases, real people, real follow-ups. It's all about that. Because if you're going to be a homeopath, it's all about people. If you're going to start working with people and being a homeopath, let's do that first. Let's get out of our own way so that we can always show up with the right mindset, the right heart set, the right place in our being. And all the information, it's all going to come to you. I mean, it's all there. We're still doing homeopathy. But and so that's the method of my teaching. In our school, it's called Resonance School of Homeopathy. Resonance, because the principle of resonance is really strong. You actually used the word, you resonate with me.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's what we're doing with homeopathy. We're creating a resonant energy with that person's suffering. So the idea of resonance is really strong. So I named the school Resonance School of Homeopathy. You can find that resonanceschoolofhomeopathy.com. We've got an extensive website. Lots of information is there. Oh my God, there's such a ton of information. It's like you can read, and there's videos, and you can sign up there. But more importantly, you can sign up for a free newsletter. I'm putting out content on a weekly basis, sometimes 2 times a week. And the content that I'm putting out is really my ideas, either about something in current affair, maybe it's a COVID thing, or something that's important that as a serious student or a homeopath themselves, or even a serious consumer of homeopathy might be interested in reading. Mm-hmm. So it's not introductory stuff, but it's written in a way that any layperson could read it and understand it. So mm-hmm. I'm not speaking in mumbo jumbo too much. Mm-hmm. And I put out tons of content. I've recently rebuilt the school website, and we're importing letters from the WordPress.com format that there's well over 350 different newsletters I've written there. It's all free. You could go to Resident School of Homeopathy at WordPress.com if you find that. And my God, the list is extensive. Like it's huge. So that's an even greater resource. It's free for anyone to enjoy. But there's also a blog and a place to be able to read current newsletters, and the collection is getting pretty good of new newsletters that are on the new website as well.
Thank you. So, Robert, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but in the nature of who we have already talked about, one being like one sort of finding themselves being by getting themselves out of the way. One thing that you sort of failed to give us is your individual email. And that's what's so interesting here, because you don't matter to, in some ways. You give us the school, you give us the newsletter, you give us, unless maybe I missed something, but really, how does one get a hold of Robert Field directly if that's what they want to do? Or is that just embedded in there?
I've got an office number. And
Go ahead.
Okay. My office number is 775-827-0222.
Perfect.
And, being here in Reno, Nevada, I see local clients. I see clients all over the world through Skype or, any of the other formats. Homeopathy is easily done at a distance. Also on the school website, there's a place, you contact us. Yes. I get every single one of those contact us, and I respond to every single one of them. There's never one that I don't. So, if anyone had any questions or questions about me and, how do I make an appointment with you? Things like that. You could do it in any of those ways.
That's just terrific. And I was really sort of teasing with, and about me. It's almost like, and by the way, there's me in here somewhere. So thank you for sharing that as well, and how our listeners might be able to get a hold of you. And my guess is that you're going to get a load full after this interview, because the interview has been just fabulous.
Well,
go ahead.
I want to thank you for giving me the format to share my passion. Bottom line, I am truly passionate about this, and I live it, breathe it, I love it, and it's the greatest gift that I've ever received, and it's so nice to share it with others. I love people. That's actually the first thing I ask people if I want to be a homeopath. The first thing I ask them, do you love people? And they look at me like, why would you ask me that? I said, because you're going to hear every story under the book, under the sun. It's like out of the book. There's going to be stories that are going to make your hair stand on end. But do you love people? If you love people, you're in the right profession. Beautiful. If you don't really love people, probably you should look at being a different kind of profession.
That's just awesome.
It's just a prerequisite.
Super terrific. All right, Robert. Well, again, listeners, you've been with me and Robert Field, and it has been a spectacular, just too much fun, really. And I can't wait to get in touch with you. We'll talk within the next. We'll talk very soon, and see what we can continue to do together. I am so inspired by who you are. And it only got amplified and re-amplified during this discussion. So thank you for sharing with my listeners, who now become your listeners. And we'll catch you on the flip side. So it's just terrific to have joined you. You're in Reno, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Reno, Nevada.
All right. Perfect. Okay, Robert. Right. Anything else before we close?
Yeah, thank you, Fred. You're welcome. So much. I truly appreciate it. Like I said, to be able to share my passion is wonderful, and you've given me a great opportunity in that, and I thank you.
My deepest pleasure. Thank you too, Robert. Bye for now. Welcome to Humanity, listeners. We'll catch you on the next episode. And gosh, if you enjoyed this as much as me, now might be a good time to hit that subscribe button and pass it on to friends, because wow. Thanks again, Robert. Be good. Catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's Dr. Fred. How fun was this interview? Like, Robert Field is the guy I want to grow up to be. I love the way this guy is a physician. I love the way he heals people. I love how effortlessly it is. I love how it's all about listening. I love that spirituality. I love that he gets himself out of the way. And I love his his level-headedness and his knowledge base and his sense of humor and his humanity. So for me, it just gives me additional hope that I just love being a physician. And the more I learn about homeopathy, I really think, that maybe I've been meant to be a homeopath my whole life. So maybe as you were listening, you were as turned on as I was. And if that's the case, I wonder if there's not some people in your circle who would really, really love to listen to this particular podcast. Go ahead and tap on them and, see if they want to listen. Send them a copy of this, and then ask them to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast after they listen. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time as well. go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your podcast player. And if you really like what we're talking about, I would love for you to leave a positive review on Apple Podcast. It would be fabulous. So anyways, it sure has been a pleasure. And this is one of my favorite interviews. I had so much fun, and I hope you did too. Have a good rest of the day and the rest of the week, and we'll see you on the flip side.